Welcome to your deep dive. So you guys sent in some really interesting source material about the power of the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like an excerpt from an audiobook.
Okay.
And I gotta say, some of these stories in here, people using this stuff to achieve some pretty wild things,
Yeah.
it really got me thinking, is there something to this?
Yeah.
So let's unpack this a little bit.
Absolutely.
And hopefully you can kind of help us sift through it all and
Yeah.
find those nuggets of wisdom that
You know,
people can actually use.
It definitely sparks some curiosity, doesn't it? What I think is so fascinating is how the author really emphasizes the practicality of it all.
Right.
It's not just about, the subconscious is this abstract thing. It's like,
Right.
here are the techniques that you can use to actually harness that power.
It's like a handbook or a user manual.
Totally.
It's like you have this incredible tool inside you and here's the instruction manual.
Exactly.
And one of the first things that really jumped out at me
Yeah.
was this idea of the law of belief.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically saying that, your subconscious believes whatever you tell it,
Right.
good or bad.
Yeah.
And it's not enough to just say affirmations.
That's such a crucial point, and the way they illustrate it with that example of the person using the I am wealthy affirmations.
Right.
But then their deep-seated belief is that they're lying to themselves,
Right.
and their financial situation is actually getting worse.
So their subconscious is picking up on the feeling, not the words.
Totally. It's like you can't trick the subconscious.
That's kind of unsettling, isn't it?
It is.
Because it's what if we're unknowingly sabotaging ourselves?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it really makes you wonder, what are some of those things that are going on under the surface
Right, exactly.
that we're not even aware of, and how is that impacting our results?
Right, and how do we bridge that gap between just saying the words and
Yeah.
actually believing it, embodying it?
Yeah. It's not about thinking positive. It's about cultivating genuine belief.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Yeah. So the author talks about a couple of different things. One that they emphasize is visualization, particularly before sleep, when our subconscious is at its most receptive.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And they tell a story about a man who was partially paralyzed.
Right.
And he was able to regain the ability to answer the phone through visualization.
Isn't that wild?
It's like he mentally rewired his brain.
Yeah. That story always sends chills down my spine because it really highlights this power of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to actually reorganize itself
Wow.
by forming new neural connections. And so the author's argument is that by vividly imagining our desired outcomes and really engaging all of our senses in the process,
Right.
we're essentially imprinting those images onto our subconscious,
Wow.
which then works to make them a reality.
So it's not just wishful thinking. It's almost like
Yeah.
you're giving your subconscious a blueprint.
A blueprint, a vision board
Yeah.
that you're constantly referencing.
Okay, so there's a practicality to it. It's not just this woo-woo,
It's not magic. It's actually very practical, even scientific in a way.
It's backed by, there's a scientific element to it.
Yeah.
Which is reassuring, I think.
And it's a technique that's been used by athletes and performers
Yeah.
and even business leaders for years.
To enhance performance.
To enhance performance and achieve goals.
Okay.
It's about getting out of your own way.
That makes me feel better because I'm always come on, is this real?
Right.
But what about overcoming fear?
Yeah.
Because, that's a big one, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
They argue that fear is often a major roadblock
Right.
to success and happiness.
Yeah.
And their approach is to tackle fears head on.
Okay, so not to avoid them,
No, lean in.
but to lean in.
Face them.
And they share a story about a guy who conquered his fear of public speaking
Mm-hmm.
by visualizing himself speaking confidently on a stage.
It's so powerful.
And it worked.
It's another great example of how we can reprogram our subconscious. But this time, instead of focusing on achieving a specific outcome,
Right.
it's about reframing our response
To a specific fear.
to a specific fear.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it really echoes the principles of exposure therapy,
Okay.
which is a very common treatment for phobias and anxiety disorders.
So it's by repeatedly confronting those fears, but in a safe environment, our minds,
Exactly.
you're rewiring your brain.
It's like rewiring those neural pathways.
That's amazing.
Rewiring for courage, rewiring for resilience.
I like that. That's a good way to put it.
Right.
So we've talked about visualization. We've talked about overcoming fear.
Yeah.
What other tools does the author kind of put forward as ways to tap into this?
Well, one of the most fascinating areas I think they go into is this connection between our subconscious mind and our relationships.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is where it gets juicy.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting because they actually talk about the golden rule.
Okay.
Treat others how you want to be treated.
Right.
But it's not just this moral guideline. It's actually deeply intertwined with our subconscious mind.
Okay.
And the argument is that our subconscious, it doesn't distinguish between ourselves and others
Wow.
in the same way that our conscious mind does.
So give me an example of that.
So let's say you're constantly criticizing someone behind their back,
Right.
or harboring resentment, or you're wishing ill on somebody. You're essentially, according to the author, you're directing that negative energy inward because your subconscious is like, wait a minute.
It's not separating the two.
It's not making that distinction.
Wow.
It's just seeing it as energy.
So if I'm gossiping about somebody, my subconscious is treating it as if I'm gossiping about myself.
It's like you're gossiping about yourself.
That's a mind bender.
It is a mind bender, right?
Yeah.
And this is why they're saying cultivating compassion and kindness towards others is essentially an act of self-care.
Wow.
It's not just about being nice.
It's not just about being nice. It's about
recognizing.
and detecting yourself almost.
In a way, yeah.
Interesting. It's like that saying, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
100%.
It's like you're only hurting yourself.
You're only hurting yourself. And so, they're basically saying the state of your relationships,
right,
both with yourself and others,
is a reflection of you.
Is a reflection of your own subconscious beliefs.
Wow. That's a powerful realization.
It is powerful.
It's not just about, be a good person and be nice to people. It's like, no, your thoughts and feelings towards others have a direct impact.
100%, yeah.
On your well-being.
And they even take it a step further and say that this interconnectedness, it actually extends beyond our immediate circle.
Okay.
It's like our thoughts and emotions, especially those that are deeply rooted in our subconscious, can actually influence the energy that we're putting out into the world.
Oh, okay. So explain that.
So if you're constantly dwelling on negativity,
right,
that energy,
it's going to radiate outward.
It's going to radiate outwards. Exactly.
And attract more negativity.
And potentially attract more negativity back to you.
Wow.
And conversely, by cultivating a more positive internal state.
Okay.
Focusing on gratitude.
Right.
Genuinely wishing well upon others. We're kind of creating this more positive, energetic field.
It's like we're putting out those vibes.
Yes.
And those vibes are going to come back to us.
100%.
Okay.
It's like we become these magnets.
So it's not just about self-improvement. It's about contributing to a more positive
collective consciousness.
Yeah. I'm starting to see how this all connects.
It's all interconnected.
Okay, so we've talked about visualization. We talked about tackling our fears. We talked about this link between our subconscious and our relationship. What other tools does the author give us to tap into this?
So one of the most impactful techniques that they discuss is the power of language.
Okay.
Specifically, how our subconscious mind interprets and responds to the words that we use, both internally and externally.
So not just what we're saying out loud.
Not just out loud, but even the thoughts.
But our thoughts.
The conversations
that
we're having with ourselves.
Interesting.
And they argue that our words carry a vibrational frequency that can actually influence our reality.
They use the analogy of the garden, right?
The garden, yes.
It's like we're constantly planting these seeds in the garden of our subconscious mind.
Exactly.
And the thoughts that we water are the ones that grow.
100%. And the words that we use act as both the seeds and the water. So if we are constantly complaining, criticizing, focusing on what we lack, those negative words act as seeds, taking root in our subconscious and attracting more of the same.
It's giving them power.
It's giving them power. But if we consciously choose to use more positive, affirmative language, focusing on what we're grateful for, what we want to create, we're planting seeds of abundance, success, and happiness.
So it's not just about thinking those positive thoughts, but it's about speaking them out loud.
Speaking them, embodying them.
Affirming them to yourself.
Yeah, and they really emphasize the power of repetition, suggesting that the more we repeat these positive affirmations, visualize our desired outcomes, especially before sleep, the more deeply those images and beliefs become imprinted onto our subconscious minds.
Okay, so give me an example.
Okay, so let's say you want to attract more abundance into your life.
Okay.
Instead of saying, ugh, I'm so broke.
Which I'm guilty of.
Right. Which we've all been there.
Yes.
Try saying something like, I am open and receptive to financial abundance flowing into my life.
Even if your bank account's not showing it.
Even if your bank account is not reflecting that yet.
Interesting.
Because you're shifting from a mindset of lack and limitation
Right.
to a mindset of possibility and abundance.
Okay.
And the more we can actually embody those feelings of abundance and gratitude,
Right.
even before we see tangible evidence,
Right.
the more powerfully we are aligning ourselves with that reality.
It's like we're training our subconscious.
Yes.
Like you would train a muscle.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's like you're not going to see results overnight, but with consistent effort.
Consistency is key.
We can reprogram
You got it.
for success, happiness.
It's a process. It's a journey.
Right. This is all very empowering.
It is.
But it also makes you wonder if our subconscious is so open to suggestion,
Right.
are there things that we're inadvertently planting there?
Oh, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
That is a crucial question, and it leads us to one of the most important aspects of working with the subconscious mind, which is becoming aware of our thoughts.
Oh, interesting.
Becoming aware, because they say that awareness is key.
Okay.
Because if we don't even realize we're thinking negative thoughts or harboring these limiting beliefs
Right.
or engaging in these self-sabotaging behaviors, then we can't change them.
They talk about becoming observers of our own mind,
Yeah.
right? It's like almost like you're stepping outside of yourself
Yes.
and watching your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Without judgment, just observing,
Just
noticing.
And so how do we cultivate that?
Well, they offer a couple of suggestions. Mindfulness meditation, journaling,
Yeah.
and really just paying attention to that internal dialogue throughout the day.
Just being more aware of what's going on up here.
Exactly. What is that chatter?
Yeah.
What is the story you're telling yourself? What are the beliefs you're holding on to?
So if we notice a recurring pattern of negative self-talk or those limiting beliefs, we can start to challenge those thoughts.
Challenge them, reframe them.
Yeah.
Look at it from a different perspective.
It's like we're becoming editors of our own mental scripts.
100%. We have the power to rewrite those scripts.
I like that. Okay, so we're starting to kind of peel back the layers of this.
Yeah, we're going deeper.
Right.
Getting deeper.
It's empowering to know that we have this power to change our minds.
Absolutely.
And in turn, change our lives.
We have way more power than we realize.
It's a little daunting, isn't it?
It is a little daunting.
Because it's like, where do we even begin?
Right. It can feel very overwhelming. And you know what? The author actually acknowledges that.
Okay.
They acknowledge that it can feel very overwhelming.
Yeah.
When you start to kind of go down this path, and their advice is start small.
Okay.
Be patient with yourself.
Don't try to do it all at once.
Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight.
Yeah.
Just pick one or two things that resonate with you and just start there.
It's about those small, manageable steps.
Small steps, consistency.
And being kind to yourself in the process.
Yeah.
It's, like you said, it's a journey. It's not
It's a journey, not a destination.
a destination.
Yeah.
Right. And they talk about, treating yourself with the same kindness that you would offer a friend who's struggling.
Absolutely. That self-compassion is key.
Right. Because we're all human.
We are all human.
We're all a work in progress.
A work in progress.
This has been really insightful.
It's fascinating stuff, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we've covered a lot of ground so far.
We have.
We talked about the law of belief, visualization, overcoming fear, this fascinating connection between our subconscious and our relationships,
Yes.
the power of language.
The words we speak.
Right, and the importance of, being patient with ourselves and being kind to ourselves through the process.
Self-compassion.
Yeah.
It's essential.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, but be sure to join us for the next part of our exploration into the incredible power of the subconscious mind.
I can't wait.
All right, so we're back and ready to dive even deeper into this whole subconscious mind thing. One thing that really struck me was how the author connected the subconscious to something we do every night. Sleep.
Yeah, it's easy to think of sleep as just downtime.
Right.
But they're saying it's actually prime time for our subconscious to, do its thing.
They even say our dreams are like a direct line to all those subconscious thoughts and beliefs.
Exactly.
Not just random images, right?
Right.
Because I've had some weird dreams.
Yeah, not always a literal interpretation.
Right.
They actually encourage people to keep a dream journal.
Oh,
Write it down as soon as you wake up.
Okay.
And then you can start to see if there are any recurring themes or symbols or emotions that might be bubbling up from your subconscious.
It's like it's trying to send us a message, but it's speaking in code.
Totally, yeah, like a secret language.
And so the dream journal is a way to kind of decode those messages.
Exactly. They even mention, have you ever heard of lucid dreaming?
Yeah. Isn't that where you know you're dreaming.
Yeah, you're aware that you're dreaming while it's happening. And they say that with practice, you can actually get to a point where you can control your dreams to some extent.
Wait, you're telling me I can, like, direct my dreams?
That's the idea.
That sounds like a science fiction movie.
It does, doesn't it?
Wow.
But if you think about it, if you're able to tap into that level of awareness while you're dreaming, you could use dreams to, like, explore your fears, practice for real-life situations,
Oh, interesting.
work through creative blocks, all sorts of stuff.
That's wild. Okay, but what about those times when we're wide awake?
Yeah.
How do we tap into our subconscious then?
Well, that's where they talk about intuition.
Okay.
And they're saying it's more than just a hunch or a gut feeling.
Right.
It's like a powerful source of wisdom that's always available to us. We're just not always tuned in.
So it's like it's always whispering to us,
It's always there.
but we're just, like, too distracted to hear it.
Exactly. So they suggest practices like mindfulness, spending time in nature, things like that, can help to quiet the noise of our everyday lives and allow us to actually hear that inner voice more clearly.
So how do we strengthen that connection, that intuition?
Well, they say it starts with trusting our gut.
Okay.
Like, think about times when your intuition was spot on.
Right.
Remember that feeling. And start paying attention to when that shows up in your life.
So the more we listen to it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah, it's like building a muscle. They also talk a lot about taking responsibility,
Okay. Yeah.
not just for our actions, but for our thoughts and our feelings as well.
So not playing the victim.
That's a big one for them. They're really pushing back against this idea that we're victims of our circumstances.
Right.
They believe that we have way more power than we realize to shape our reality. And it all starts with owning our thoughts and our feelings and the choices that we make.
Which is easier said than done, right?
9%.
Especially when life throws you a curveball. It's like so easy to be like, oh, why me? Or blame it on somebody else.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They use the example of someone losing their job.
Okay.
It'd be so easy to spiral into negativity and blame.
Oh, yeah.
But they challenge us to actually see it as an opportunity.
Okay.
Instead of dwelling on what you can't control, shift your focus to what you can.
So instead of like, why me? It's more like, okay, what's next? What can I learn from this? How can I use this?
100%. They also talk about the importance of setting healthy boundaries,
Yeah, that's a good one.
both personally and professionally.
Right.
Saying no to things that drain us or that don't align with our values. That's a really important act of self-respect, according to the author.
They're not saying to be like totally self-serving.
No, not at all.
It's about finding that balance, right?
It's about balance, honoring your own needs while also showing up for others.
Right. Because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. You can't give what you don't have. And when we prioritize our own well-being, we actually have more energy and capacity to give to others in a way that feels authentic.
Okay, so I have to admit, this next one, I was like, okay, is this for real?
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting.
They even talk about using the power of our subconscious to improve our finances.
I know, right? It's a bold claim. But they approach it with the same principles we've been talking about.
Okay.
It starts with examining our beliefs about money.
Okay.
Like if we grew up believing that, money is scarce or that wealthy people are bad,
Right.
those beliefs can become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Wow.
So if you're someone who's constantly worrying about money,
Right.
you might actually be attracting more financial stress.
Because that's where your energy is.
That's where your focus is.
That's so interesting.
So they suggest combating this by consciously shifting our mindset from scarcity to abundance.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, they talk about visualizing financial abundance,
Okay.
feeling the gratitude as if you already have what you desire,
Embodying it.
embodying that energy.
Wow.
And they even suggest that generosity can be a really powerful tool for attracting more abundance.
Interesting.
And they're not just talking about, donating huge sums of money.
Yeah.
Even small acts of kindness.
Okay.
Generosity can shift our energy from a place of lack to a place of abundance.
The more we focus on what we have to give, the more we open ourselves up to receive.
Exactly.
It's interesting. This isn't just about like money and success.
Right.
They even talk about using the power of the subconscious mind for healing.
Yeah. And this is where I think the author has a lot of awe for the body's innate healing abilities.
Right.
They say that our bodies are constantly regenerating
Yeah.
and that our thoughts and beliefs can either support that process or they can hinder it.
So it's important to be mindful of what we're thinking and feeling.
Exactly. And
No.
so they suggest visualization techniques where you vividly imagine your body healing.
Okay.
feeling the gratitude for its strength.
It's almost like giving your body positive reinforcement.
100%.
Instead of focusing on what's wrong, you're focusing on the desired outcome. A healthy, vibrant body.
Precisely. And they're very clear that this isn't about, denying medical treatment.
Right.
Or trying to bypass conventional medicine. It's about incorporating these mental and emotional techniques.
Right, so it's like an add-on.
It's a complement to traditional healthcare. It's about harnessing the power of the mind to support the body's natural healing process.
I like that. It's about taking like a holistic approach.
Exactly.
Speaking of holistic, they also talk about using the power of the subconscious for creativity, which I was very interested in because, writer's block is a real thing.
Oh, yeah. And they have a lot to say about that. They believe that we all have this wellspring of creativity within us. And it's often our own limiting beliefs and self-doubt that block the flow.
So how do we clear those blocks?
Visualization is definitely a key tool that they recommend.
Okay.
Visualize yourself fully immersed in that creative process, feeling the joy, feeling the flow as if you're already in that state of effortless creation.
So even if you're not feeling it.
Even if you're not feeling it, you're setting that intention.
Fake it till you make it.
In a way, yeah. And also just engaging in activities that spark our creativity, whether that's brainstorming, journaling, or even just taking some time to daydream.
Giving yourself permission.
Giving yourself permission to play, to experiment.
Yeah.
Silence that inner critic that often stifles our creativity.
It's interesting how they connect creativity not just to, like artistic pursuits,
Right.
but to problem-solving innovation.
It's in all areas of life.
It's like, why limit it?
Exactly. And it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because our subconscious minds, they're not bound by the same limitations.
Right.
They have access to a much wider range of information and possibilities.
So it's like our subconscious mind is this vast, untapped reservoir
Yes.
of creativity, and we just have to tap into it.
We have to dive in.
Okay. This is all starting to sound a bit spiritual, isn't it?
Yeah, you've hit on another key aspect of what they talk about.
Okay.
They're saying that our subconscious minds are also our connection to something larger than ourselves.
Okay.
Whether you call it the universe, the divine, a higher power.
Right. Whatever resonates.
Exactly. And they say we can deepen that connection through practices like meditation, prayer, spending time in nature.
It's about quieting the mind.
Quieting the mind, connecting,
With something bigger.
and trusting.
Okay.
Trusting that we're being guided.
So letting go of control a little bit?
Letting go, surrendering. Recognizing that we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And trusting that there's a wisdom that's beyond our own.
Okay, so they even say we can use the power of our subconscious minds to manifest our ideal partner, which, I'll be honest,
Yeah.
I was a little skeptical.
It sounds a little out there, but it all ties back to the core principles.
Mm.
The law of attraction,
Okay.
visualization,
Right.
the power of belief.
They say we attract what we vibrate.
We attract what we vibrate. So if we want to attract a partner who's loving, supportive, aligned with our values.
We have to embody those qualities ourselves.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's not about making a checklist of like all the things we want.
Right. The perfect partner.
It's about what are the feelings you want to experience? Joy, love, connection, support.
So embodying it now.
Embodying it now as if the relationship already exists.
Not focusing on that specific person, but that feeling.
The feeling, the energy.
And it goes back to self-love, right?
100%. The author is huge on self-love, recognizing that it's the foundation for any healthy, fulfilling relationships.
Right, because if you don't love yourself, how can you expect someone else to?
And they're saying when we truly love and accept ourselves, flaws and all,
Yeah.
we become magnetic.
Interesting.
We're no longer seeking validation from external sources.
Right, because we already have it within.
We're already whole. And they actually offer some really practical tips for cultivating self-love.
Like what?
Practicing self-care, setting healthy boundaries, engaging in positive self-talk.
It's like being your own best friend.
Exactly. Treating ourselves with the same kindness and compassion.
Okay. I have to imagine some people listening might be a bit overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of information.
Right. It's a lot to digest.
Yeah.
So what advice do they give to those who are just, like, starting out on this journey?
They say, start small,
Okay.
be patient.
Yeah.
You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight.
Right.
Choose one or two practices that resonate with you
Okay.
and commit to practicing them consistently.
Small, manageable steps.
Small steps.
Yeah.
Celebrate those small victories.
Don't beat yourself up.
Don't beat yourself up. Self-compassion.
So important.
It's essential. They also encourage listeners to seek support, whether that's a therapist, a coach, a supportive friend.
Yeah.
Find your people.
Your community.
Your community.
Because you don't have to do it alone.
We're not meant to do this alone.
It's a good reminder.
It's a process. It's a journey. And having that support can make a huge difference.
All right. Well, this deep dive, it just keeps getting deeper, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, we've covered so much.
Dreams, intuition, relationships, abundance.
Healing, spirituality. It's amazing how it's all interconnected.
It's all connected. And it all comes back to this idea that our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings,
Right.
they really do have the power to shape our reality.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
It is. And we're not even done yet. The author has even more to share.
More practical tips.
More tips, inspiring stories, profound insights.
This is definitely an audiobook excerpt worth revisiting, don't you think?
100%. It's a lot to unpack, but it's worth it.
There's so much wisdom packed into this.
There really is.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great reminder that the journey of self-discovery, it's ongoing.
It's a lifelong pursuit.
There's always more to learn,
Right, more to explore.
more to unlock.
Well, let's take a moment, gather our thoughts, and then we'll dive into the final part of this exploration. All right, so we are back for the final part of our deep dive into this incredible source material on the subconscious mind. And, one of the things that I really loved about this author was how they illustrated these concepts with, actual stories of real people, applying these principles and seeing tangible results, so it wasn't just theory.
Yeah, they're so powerful.
Right. It was okay, this stuff actually works.
They bring it to life.
Yeah, and there was this one story that I kept coming back to about this guy who really wanted a promotion at work.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember that one. He was feeling very stuck in his current role. But instead of just wishing for a change, he actually decided to actively visualize himself in the role that he desired.
So he was specific about it.
He was specific.
It wasn't just I want something better.
He had a clear vision.
It was I want this.
Yeah, and the author describes how he would spend a few minutes each day vividly imagining himself in this new office, leading meetings, making decisions, even picturing that feeling of confidence and accomplishment.
Embodying it.
Yes.
Even though he wasn't there yet.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating is he didn't actually tell anyone about his aspirations.
Oh, wow.
But his behavior started to shift.
Subconsciously.
Unconsciously.
Wow.
He started taking on more responsibility. He was contributing more in meetings.
Interesting.
He was carrying himself with this newfound sense of authority.
It's like his subconscious was guiding his actions to match what he was creating in his mind.
Exactly. Like his actions were aligning with the reality that he was creating in his mind.
Wow.
And as this happened, as his actions became more aligned, it became almost inevitable that his boss would take notice.
Right.
And, the author mentions that when he was eventually offered the promotion, his boss even commented on how impressed he was with his initiative and his leadership qualities.
It's almost like he willed it to happen.
He did. It's that law of attraction.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
By embodying the energy of the promotion, he literally drew it into his experience.
So we really do have this power
We do.
to shape our own reality.
We are not just passive observers in our own lives. We have way more agency than we realize.
We have the power to create what we want.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not just limited to material success.
Right.
The author really emphasizes that these principles can be applied to relationships, to health, to creativity, to spirituality. The possibilities are limitless.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It is incredibly exciting.
Because it's if this is true, think about what we can do.
Exactly. The subconscious mind is this incredible tool for personal growth and transformation.
So, we've covered a lot.
A lot.
What would you say are, your biggest takeaways?
For me, it really comes down to just the interconnectedness of it all.
Yeah.
Our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our actions,
Yeah.
they're all intertwined.
Right.
And constantly influencing one another. And at the core of it all is this incredible power source, the subconscious mind.
Which most people don't even think about.
Don't even realize how powerful it is.
And it's a little, it's empowering to know that we have this power.
Yes.
But it's also a little daunting.
It can be, for sure.
Because it means that, we have to be mindful.
We have to take responsibility.
Right. Of what we're putting out there.
For our thoughts and our beliefs, even the ones that are operating below the surface.
Right. It's not about being perfect.
No, Not at all.
It's about awareness.
Awareness, it's about progress over perfection.
It's about that journey.
Being kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a process.
So what you're saying is there's hope for all of us.
There's always hope.
Right.
We have way more power than we realize.
If we just tap into it.
Tap into it.
I love it.
It's exciting stuff.
It is exciting. And you know what? I think this is something that, everyone listening can start to implement in their own lives, like today.
100%. There's something in there for everyone.
Yeah. It's just about being open to it.
Being open to it.
Right. And like you said, being kind to yourself.
Patient. You got this.
Yeah. We're all works in progress.
We're all on this journey together.
And it's a lifelong journey.
It is, absolutely.
I have really enjoyed this deep dive.
Me too. It's been fascinating.
I love the way that the author breaks down this kind of complicated subject into really digestible, practical steps. That's what I like about it.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, I want to say thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to chat with you. And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us on this deep dive into the power of the subconscious mind. We encourage you to revisit the source material, grab a notebook, maybe start that dream journal.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.